I hated the taste of alcohol. I still do. So weed was my choice of drugs. So I would smoke some weed.
Didn't you have a child outside your marriage around this time?
Yes, I did.
And then you actually told your wife that.
Yes.
And that caused a divorce.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the poet laureate of soul, the man who gave Motown its soul. But now, at 85, a massive $50 million lawsuit and shocking accusations from his own employees threaten to collapse the entire 60-year legacy of Smokey Robinson. Motown legend Smokey Robinson, a founding father of soul and R&B who helped define the American music landscape. He's 85 years old and still singing, a seemingly ageless icon. But recently a storm has emerged, seemingly out of nowhere. We are talking about chilling accusations coming from inside Smokey Robinson's own home, sending massive shockwaves throughout Hollywood. Why would a living icon suddenly find himself at the center of a brutal firestorm? Is Smokey Robinson's legendary career now at risk of total collapse? This isn't just a scandal. This is a story about the dark side of power, the price of fame, and the unseen complexities of a man whose life was built on singing about love. And this story is only beginning. Detroit, 1940, a harsh industrial city buried in factory smoke and echoing with the sound of police sirens. Crime, racial tension, and industrial grime defined the landscape. Everything felt ready to crush the future of the children growing up there. William Smokey Robinson Jr. was born on February 19, 1940, in a humble wooden house in the North End neighborhood. His nickname, Smokey, was given to him by his uncle Claude, who loved Western movies. The young William was drawn to a character known as Smokey Joe. The name stuck, and the legend began. Smokey carried a mixed heritage. He was African American, French, and Native American. His father, William Robinson Sr., was a quiet, reliable man working grueling labor jobs in the industrial core of the city. His mother, Flossie Robinson, was gentle, intelligent, and deeply loved music. She was the one who first exposed him to the power of melody. But life was merciless. She tragically passed away when Smokey was just 10 years old. That loss, that shattering moment, profoundly shaped his childhood. From then on, Robinson moved in with his grandmother, Mamie Jones, the single most important woman in his life. Mamie Jones was a lifeline. Surprisingly, inside her small, struggling home, there was a treasure, a hidden world of sound. It was an old wooden cabinet filled with more than 2,000 records, including blues, gospel, doo-wop, and jazz. Smokey couldn't afford music lessons. He had no teacher. He only had a voice, a mind full of melodies, and a heart full of dreams. He often credited his lyricism to his mother, who had taught him how to read poetry before he was even 5 years old. By the time he was a teenager, Smokey Robinson was practicing his words and melodies every night. In 1958, after the audition, Berry Gordy officially signed the Miracles and launched his first label, Tamla Records, which would later become Motown. He immediately started training Smokey in every intricate detail. How to write a hit song, how to craft an addictive 8 to 12 word hook that would stick in your mind. How to build storytelling R&B that transcended racial boundaries. Smokey absorbed everything so quickly and completely that Gordy himself admitted he had never seen raw, natural talent quite like it. The results came almost immediately, confirming Gordy's foresight. In September 1960, Smokey wrote and produced Shop Around. The song performed a miracle. It took Tamla Records from a tiny local label operating out of a small house to a national force. It reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 1 million copies. Critically, this single was Motown's first song to truly break into mainstream white America. Motown exploded from that moment on. From 1961 to 1972, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles were Gordy's golden goose. They gave the world hits like You've Really Got a Hold on Me, 1962, Ooh Baby Baby, 1965, Tracks of My Tears, 1965, and the late blooming smash The Tears of a Clown, 1970. These weren't just popular songs. They sold millions, consistently broke into the top 10, and defined the signature Motown sound. Youthful, soulful, emotional, and absolutely full of life. If Marvin Gaye was the voice of the soul, the Temptations were the definition of style, and Diana Ross was the global superstar, then Smokey Robinson was the essential blueprint. He was the foundational structure that allowed every other Motown legend to be born and succeed. Smokey's greatest power came from his work behind the scenes, not just on the stage. From 1963 to 1972, he was Motown's undisputed hit machine. He took Marvin Gaye, who struggled early on, and turned him into a true star with massive hits he penned, including Ain't That Peculiar, 1965, and I'll Be Doggone, 1966. He gave the Temptations their timeless masterpiece, My Girl, 1964, a song that remains a cornerstone of American music history. He also helped Mary Wells become the first black woman to dominate American radio with My Guy, 1964, which rocketed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Smokey was so prolific that his catalogue eventually grew to over 1,500 compositions, one of the largest and most valuable songwriting collections in the entire history of American music. Berry Gordy understood this power. He trusted Smokey so deeply that he brought him onto the executive board in 1964, gave him authority to train and develop new artists in 1966, and by 1969 appointed him vice president of Motown Records. Smokey became the second most powerful person in the company after Gordy himself, all while still touring and recording with the Miracles. He was only 29 years old. During these years, Motown achieved something unprecedented. It became the first black-owned label to dominate the entire country's music charts and airwaves. Annual revenue reached $20 to $50 million, equating to over $250 million today, with Billboard topping hits released every single quarter. Before we dive into the incredible and painful complexities of his personal life, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Fame Game. But the brighter the Motown spotlight grew, the more chaotic the environment became. The early 1970s were suffocating. Every major artist carried a massive ego. The Temptations were constantly changing members. Diana Ross chased global superstardom. Berry Gordy struggled against commercial pressures. Every group became an internal battlefield. And standing right in the middle of it all, mediating the chaos and absorbing the pressure, was Smokey Robinson. The burden was far too heavy for a man barely in his 30s. After more than 15 years leading the Miracles and keeping the Motown engine running smoothly, Smokey reached a critical turning point. In 1972, at age 32, he made a life-altering decision. He left the group to focus on his executive role at Motown, and crucially, to spend time with his family. He was utterly exhausted after a relentless decade and a half of non-stop work, writing, producing, managing, performing, and mediating endless conflicts. He stepped away from the stage, but his music career didn't end. In 1973, he released his debut solo album, Smokey, which opened a new chapter. The real solo breakthrough came later in 1979 with the birth of Cruisin'. This track became one of the smoothest, most sensual and timeless love songs in R&B history, climbing into the top 10, selling millions, and remaining a date-night classic. Smokey, nearing 40, once again dominated American radio. But success always carried a shadow. Behind the glittering lights of the Motown stage was a private life full of conflict, pain, and complexity. In 1959, at the very beginning of the Motown story, Smokey Robinson married Claudette Rogers, the only female member of the Miracles at the time. They were the label's golden couple, Smokey, suave and naturally gifted, writing the love songs, and Claudette, gentle and intelligent, always standing behind him. They had 2 children, Barry, born in 1968, named after Berry Gordy, and Tamla, born in 1969, named after the record label. To Motown fans, these children symbolized the perfect Motown family. Then, in 1984, the private life exploded. Smokey publicly admitted he had fathered a child, a son named Trey Robinson, with another woman while still living with Claudette. The news hit Motown like a bomb. It wasn't because cheating was uncommon, but because Smokey was the absolute last person anyone expected. He was the clean, elegant gentleman, the man who wrote Ooh Baby Baby and Tracks of My Tears, songs filled with honest heartbreak and tender vulnerability. And now, he had become the one inflicting the pain on the woman who had stood by him for nearly 3 decades. Claudette filed for divorce after 27 years together. The separation was heavy, painful, and dragged on until 1986. Smokey confessed in his memoir, Smokey, inside my life, that it was a tearful divorce that I brought upon myself. The broken marriage was only part of his personal tragedy. Smokey faced an even darker nightmare: addiction. In the early 1980s, he fell into a terrifying spiral of cocaine abuse, a battle he famously described as when darkness becomes your most dangerous friend. He deteriorated to the point where his life and career nearly froze, and his health collapsed. He revealed that he came very, very close to dying. Smokey eventually survived that dark chapter, relying on his faith, the love of his family, and his music, the one thing that never betrayed him. After the darkest years of his life, Smokey Robinson returned to the spotlight, stronger and more disciplined than anyone expected. In 1981, he released the massive international hit, Being With You. This song reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US and shot to number 1 in the UK, transforming him into a global solo star at age 41. The song sold well over 4 million copies worldwide. By 1987, Smokey exploded again with the critically acclaimed album One Heartbeat. Its 2 major hits, Just to See Her and One Heartbeat, brought him back to the top of the Billboard charts. It was for Just to See Her that Smokey finally earned the first Grammy of his career, a deeply emotional victory that recognized his decades of contribution as a performing artist. Throughout the 90s and 2000s, Smokey became a true fixture of American pop culture. He appeared on major talk shows and national events, even performing for US presidents. He became the embodiment of timeless class, elegance, and sophistication in traditional R&B. Over his career spanning from 1958 until today, Smokey has written and received credit for more than 1,500 songs. Many of his colleagues claim the real number, including demos and unreleased material, may approach 3,000. Among these, he has racked up over 40 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 as a performer, and more than 70 hits he wrote and produced for other artists, from The Temptations to Mary Wells. No one at Motown wrote more hits than Smokey. His incredible ability to craft lyrics and weave emotion earned him a rare title, the Poet Laureate of Soul. The world recognized his impact, inducting him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. The highest honor of his career came in 2002 when President George W. Bush personally awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the most prestigious medal an American civilian can receive. It is given to those who deeply impact culture and society, and very few musicians have ever received it. Smokey is one of them. That same year, Smokey married Frances Glandney, his second marriage. This one was far quieter, calmer, and less dramatic. Frances, a designer, became his closest companion during the most successful and peaceful period of his post-Motown life. Then, between 2017 and 2024, the world saw something truly unexpected. In his early 80s, Smokey became a massive internet phenomenon. He appeared at award shows with glowing skin and a remarkably youthful face that sent social media into a frenzy. People began calling him the sexy uncle of Motown. In 2023, at age 83, Smokey continued to shock the world by releasing the album Gasms, with sensual songs, titles, and artwork that proved he was still creating, still pushing boundaries, and still playing with artistic limits. He became living proof that legends never truly retire. Because Smokey Robinson was still active, still touring, and still very much in the public eye, the world was left stunned when the storm of accusations hit him at age 85. Everything began in May 2025. 4 former employees who had worked inside Smokey Robinson's Chatsworth home simultaneously filed a lawsuit with the Los Angeles Superior Court. The initial complaint centered on labor issues, alleging the workplace was unprofessional, that they were treated unfairly, insulted, and denied minimum wage and proper overtime pay. The total damages they demanded reached an enormous $50 million, arguing the years of mistreatment caused severe emotional harm. Smokey's longtime attorney, Christopher Frost, immediately dismissed it, calling it a blatant plan to exploit his fame for money. But the story escalated dramatically. In November 2025, the shocking twist arrived. The lawsuit was formally amended. 2 former employees, identified in court documents as Jane Doe 5 and John Doe 1, filed an amendment claiming that while working at the Robinson residence, they were placed in situations that crossed workplace boundaries. They alleged that Smokey Robinson, at 85, behaved in ways that made them uncomfortable, moments that left them uneasy, anxious, and ultimately forced them to walk away from their jobs. This became the turning point that made the case irresistible to the media. According to the complaint, Jane Doe 5, who worked as a housekeeper from 2005 to 2011, stated that Robinson frequently called her to the second-floor bathroom to scrub his back and asked for assistance in private areas of the house that she felt were outside the scope of her professional duties. She claimed she fell into long-term panic and psychological distress, even undergoing breast reduction surgery in 2015, so she wouldn't draw attention. Jane Doe 5 also directly accused Smokey's current wife, Frances Robinson, of creating a hostile work environment, regularly yelling at and blaming staff and ignoring complaints about her husband's behavior. John Doe 1, hired in 2013 to care for vehicles and the yard, claimed that he encountered moments that left him unsure how to react. He described situations where Smokey allegedly made personal remarks and invited him into a room inside the residence. A year later, the Robinsons invited him back, but the behavior allegedly continued. After hearing similar stories from previous employees, John Doe 1 quit for good and joined the lawsuit. What surprised many is that Frances Robinson was named directly in the complaint. This means the case is no longer just Smokey being sued. It has become a lawsuit against the entire Robinson family. Smokey Robinson's attorney, Christopher Frost, has rejected all allegations, calling them a coordinated fabrication meant solely to damage the reputation of an American music icon. Frost stated the plaintiffs were hiding behind anonymous identities to make claims he called baseless, and confirmed that Smokey and Frances Robinson would fight to the end to clear their names. The full trial is scheduled for October 2027. This lawsuit will drag on for years. An 85-year-old legend is standing in the center of the storm, and a 60-year legacy faces its most brutal test ever. If you're finding this story compelling, please hit the like button now. Your support helps us tell these complex stories on the Fame Game. The moment the amended complaint became public, the internet split into 2 distinct sides. Those defending him are the loyal fans who grew up with "Ooh Baby Baby" and "Cruisin'." They see Smokey as a spiritual father of soul music and believe the lawsuit is nothing but a plot to destroy his name for money. The other side consists of people asking a terrifying question: is Motown's dark side finally coming out? Motown's history, while beautiful and glamorous, was never entirely spotless. It came with internal battles, massive commercial pressure, Berry Gordy's strict control, and many shadows that were covered up tightly during the 1960s and 1970s. Is there more behind the Motown legend than we were ever told? American media immediately placed Smokey on a danger list alongside other older icons who lost their public image through accusations and lawsuits. Bill Cosby, the fallen America's dad, P. Diddy, whose empire is shaken, and R. Kelly, the R&B legend, facing heavy sentences. This doesn't mean Smokey is guilty or innocent, but the media doesn't wait for the slow truth. They capitalize on the sensational. The more allegations surface, the more Smokey's entire career is placed under a microscope, and slowly the biggest question is no longer whether Smokey did it. It's becoming, can Motown's legacy survive this storm? To truly understand Smokey Robinson, the man not just the shaken icon, we must step into chapters few people ever mention. Smokey is famous for his sugar-sweet voice, soft, warm, smooth, a voice the entire Motown family called the voice of an angel. But few know that this voice once stood on the absolute edge of disappearing forever. There was a time when Smokey couldn't sing a full line due to inflamed vocal cords. Decades of non-stop touring had severely weakened his lungs. He described the moment he broke in the late 1990s, losing his breath in the studio and nearly having to retire. Doctors warned that if he kept pushing, the damage could be permanent. In that moment, Smokey confronted the deepest fear of his life. Not aging, not losing fame, but losing his voice. The irreplaceable gift that saved him, fed him, and lifted him out of poverty. From then on, Smokey committed to a discipline that bordered on brutal, meditating every morning, practicing breathing exercises daily, and dieting like an athlete. He hauntingly said, "My voice is a gift from God. I have to protect it at all costs." Then there is the untold secret of his spiritual life. After the divorce and the depths of addiction, Smokey genuinely believed music might no longer be his path. He sought quiet, turning to meditation, yoga, and spirituality as a way to find peace. There was a period where he spent months attending Bible classes, sitting in on sermons, and seriously considering leaving music altogether to become a minister. For him, it wasn't an impulsive thought. It felt like a calling, a profound desire to heal others after he himself had miraculously come back from the brink. Finally, there is the legacy of his heart, the community work he never bragged about. Detroit is the city that raised him, and he spent the rest of his life paying that debt of gratitude. For decades, Smokey didn't just sign a few charity checks for show. He stood inside the community, working tirelessly. He funded schools in Detroit, rebuilt music rooms, bought instruments for students, and created essential programs for black children trying to escape poverty. Many of the kids Smokey helped are now successful musicians, teachers, and engineers, and all of them speak about him with unmistakable gratitude. He founded youth support funds, awarded scholarships, and joined dozens of charitable campaigns without ever alerting the media. To Smokey, doing good didn't require cameras, applause, or recognition. One volunteer once noted, "He showed up early, helped with everything before the tables were even set, and left last." No one would ever guess he was an international superstar. It was this persistence and open heart that caught the attention of the White House and secured his Presidential Medal of Freedom. Smokey once said that every time he helped a child get a chance, he felt like he was helping the little broke version of himself from long ago. Because no one understands better than him that sometimes all it takes is one hand at the right moment for your whole life to change. Through all the storms, the personal failures, and the legal accusations, one thing remains undeniable. Smokey Robinson is a man who saved his community with his heart long before he saved music with his voice. When you look back at Smokey Robinson's entire life, you notice the strange dichotomy. The people who write the most beautiful songs are often the ones who carry the deepest scars. He is the poor kid from Detroit, Berry Gordy's closest friend, the sole architect of Motown, the voice that made millions cry. He is the man who lost everything, rebuilt himself, and was honored by America. A 60-year legend, but also a complex human being full of flaws and conflict. Now, as the 2024 to 2025 storm hits, Smokey faces his biggest test. Not a test in court, but a test before history. Is the legacy he built strong enough to survive? The full truth may take years to surface. His reputation may continue to shake. Motown's legacy may crack. But one thing remains unchanged. Smokey Robinson is one of the last living members of the generation that created modern soul music. And his life deserves to be told in full, showcasing both the light and the darkness. What do you think about this whole story? Is Smokey Robinson being misunderstood, or is Motown's past finally showing itself? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe to the Fame Game so you don't miss the next chapter where the deepest secrets of celebrity lives will be revealed. What do you think about this whole story? Is Smokey Robinson being misunderstood, or is Motown's past finally showing itself? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe to the Fame Game so you don't miss the next chapter where the deepest secrets of celebrity lives will be revealed.